Okay, so we are now officially started. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. It's Thursday, December 3rd. This is the first of 3 weeks that we got between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And when we come back, it's going to go real fast. So if you're caught up, great. If you're not caught up, you should be getting caught up as quick as possible. So, first thing I'm going to do is just very briefly remind everybody what's going on for the week. One thing, if any of you ran into this issue on Tuesday I wasn't at school. And even though I used the same login on Zoom, I thought I would always have the same meeting room and the same passcode. But for whatever reason, it generated a different one. So I didn't realize that. And I know some people try to get in using, I told everyone I was going to use the same link and password and all that for the rest of the semester, which I thought I was doing. And apparently it wasn't. So I did, some people notified me and I did get back up there. But just to be on the safe side, because I never know for sure if it's generating the same thing or not, I'll be posting, about 10 minutes or so before every Zoom meeting in the stream. So we don't have that problem. Just real brief here. Like I said, this first thing here is not an assignment. These are just Excel notes. So you look over, print them out, whatever. That's what you need to know about Excel. And there's a little video there on formulas and functions. Okay. Now that same notes and that same video, it's just a little, it's not one I made, is under here with the actual assignment. So under here, what we're going to look at today. We got the PDF of the notes that I shared above and the Excel formula. So that's the same. This here is a PDF, and if you scroll through it, it's got the what you need for each of the worksheets. So I think by now everyone should know when you make a new Excel file, it's a workbook. And then in this case, for this week, we have 5 sheets. So this here is what you need. I don't know why this thing's here. Okay, so these don't have the formulas or functions. You have to look at the tutorial, or if you have this already up and you're just watching me today, that's okay, because I'm going to go over the formulas and functions for these. Okay.
So we're in this class, you'll just tell us all the formulas and stuff, and if we type it in right now, we won't have to do it like later.
Yeah. If you have the other parts written up or whatever, yeah. Obviously, the formulas and functions won't mean anything if you don't have the other part written in there. So, but when I show you how simple it is, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you type it right now or not. The important thing is you understand what's called the logic behind it. Okay, if you don't understand the logic, if you're just mimicking me, you're not really learning anything. So you really need to focus on the logic. Now, other thing I did this week, at first when I posted this last weekend, I did the same assignment last spring, and I had a tutorial I made last spring I put up. Well, I got feeling a little bit like, hey, I could probably make a better one. So on Tuesday, I made a better one and I swapped them out. So I have a new tutorial that I made, and I made it using Zoom. So you got my little video of me in the corner, and you got the assignment, and Zoom works out fairly good for recording. Except in one of my takes, the internet went out. And even though I wasn't doing it live to students, it still knocked out my recording. So I had to start over again. But there is a new tutorial there for the whole thing. So if you need it, part of it, all of it, it's there. And I think it is better than the one I made last spring. Okay, so and then these two here are real easy. One's on Google search tips, one's on being safe on the internet, just some videos to watch and the little assignments to do, and that should be really easy. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to switch over to Excel. Now, for Word and PowerPoint, I told you guys not to use the online only version. Okay, but for, we got 15 today. Well, that's pretty good. But for Excel, you can use the online only version. You don't have to. You can use the Mac version or Windows versions because they pretty much all look the same. Okay, and but here it is right here. So this here, what I decided to do last spring, and I did again for this tutorial, I use the online only version. So if somebody's doing this from home and they want to go the online only version of Excel, it'll look identical to what I did. Okay. But if you open up the Windows version or the Mac version, it's also going to look more or less the same. And if there's a minor difference, it's probably be easy to figure it out. Now, another thing with Excel, it depends how wide you open up your window. See all these little menu items up here? If you got your window narrower, it's going to start combining them and scrunching them and putting them on sub list and things like that. If you stretch it wider, then you got more things stretched out and easier to see. So as best you can, try to stretch that out, depending on the room that you have. Now, what I did here, this is the workbook. You can just, I named mine workbook 2, and I put F20 because I know I made it in the fall of 20. But workbook 2 is fine. Now, if you did your first 2 Excel assignments in 2 different workbooks, which was an option, that's okay. And you name one of them workbook 2, you can name this one like workbook 2B or something. Okay, I'm not too picky on that. Then you got 5 sheets. See that down here? And I think everyone knows by now when you need to make a new sheet, you hit the little plus button down here. And then they'll say, like, I believe sheet 1, sheet 2, and that. Now, for the first one, I want you to name it bank. That's in the tutorial. You can just double click it and a little box comes up. And now that's the online version. If you're on the Mac or Windows version, it'll highlight down here and you can type. But name the first one bank would be a good name for it. And the second one average, and the third one sales, and so on. I'll go over those when I get to them. Now, some things are review, like, for example, merge and center. For this one here, when I originally, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better. When I originally did bank account, I put it in A2. And then later I dragged across here and selected through row 2 up to column E. And then up here, it's kind of hidden now because my screen's not super wide on the laptop, but this is merge and center right here. Now, if I had a wider screen, it would actually say merge and center underneath, okay? So that's review from before, so you should know how to do that. And then same with summary, I typed it there, dragged across, and merged and centered it. I'm not going to review like, these here, I centered them, make it look better. Now, usually with currencies, I don't center them. It looks better, leave them on the right. And then with other types of things like headings and stuff, I often center them, okay? Now with totals, that's kind of optional. It probably looks good either way, centered or on the left. Now, another thing to remember is these columns are not always wide enough, okay? So if you go up here between here, you can drag it and make it wider or narrower. Sometimes you need to make them narrower. Overall, you want it to look good, okay? You want it to look professional. So if you need a little more room, make them a little wider and so forth. And then things like colors are optional. You just highlight it, click a bold, pick a color. Okay, so that kind of makes it look nice sometimes. So what we're going to do here on bank account, it's when I show you this stuff, it actually is quite simple. First, with each of these sheets, you should always stop and think, what is going on here? Don't just look at a bunch of text and numbers and bring them in and not give any thought to it, because then you don't really learn anything. This here are bank accounts. Now, what doesn't say in here is if it's weekly, monthly, yearly, but it's probably monthly. So we'll say monthly. You have the account numbers that people have on the account. So this is not currency. I've had students do things like this in currency. I don't know why, but that's just numbers. You have beginning balance, what at the beginning of the month, how much money was in their account. Deposits is how much money they put into the account, put deposited money into it. And drafts is how much they took out. So they either wrote checks or went to the ATM or took out cash or whatever. And ending balance is what's left after this is over. So we're going to start right there. And all formulas or functions start with an equal sign. So you always start with an equal sign. Now, this is very simple, basic mathematics, probably about 3rd grade mathematics. We start with the beginning balance. Now, I could type B8, or I could click on it, B8. Now, some of you might say, Mr. Rio, I started my stuff up above on row 1 and you started on row 2. So mine is B7 and yours or whatever, or something different. No big deal. Just make it relative to wherever you put it. So if you're a row or 2 off of me, that's fine. It's one of the reasons I don't put what row to put it in. You should figure that out. You can start in row 1, start in row 2. It doesn't matter as long as you're doing everything relative. So for here, you put this one here. We start with B8. Now we have deposits. So if we have this amount in our bank account and we put more money in, that's going to be a simple addition. So you put a plus. In Excel, addition is just a plus, just like in regular math. Okay, and then we're going to put the next cell. Okay, C8. Now you notice we're doing the cells. We're not doing the numbers in the cells. Don't do that. I've had students do that. That's wrong. You do the cell because that number in the cell could change. Somebody could come back tomorrow and say, whoops, we put the wrong beginning balance. We put the wrong deposit, and they change the number. If you have a cell reference, no problem. It recalculates it. That's why people use Excel. Okay, now the drafts is the money you took out. So that's just a simple minus. Okay, just subtract. And then that's this one here. Now you notice if you click on it, it puts in, like in my case, a D8 automatically. Now you could manually just type D8 and that would do the exact same thing. Okay. And it doesn't matter if the D or C or B is capital or lowercase. So there's a simple formula. B8 plus C8 minus D8, beginning balance plus deposit minus draft. And then I hit return and there it is. Now, the next feature, which I I love the most, is the fact I don't have to do that on each one of these. I can click right there, and this little handle here on the bottom right of this here, I can drag down, and it does a fill. So it takes that formula I made and fills it down to all these, and it adjusts for each one.
Mr. Rio,
Yeah.
I just did that, and 3 out of them just gave me like hashtags, like just
Okay.
hashtags.
Good question. Good question. He did that and got hashtags. I'll show you how that happens. Okay. See that? There,
Yeah.
that's probably what you got. Now that means that the column is not wide enough for the number. So you have to go up here to the top
Fixed it.
between
Thank
like
you.
E and F, drag it wider, and then you solve that problem. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that may happen. People might be thinking, what the heck happened? Okay, that's what happened. You just gotta make it wider. Now down here, these are totals. So this is just simply going to be adding. We want to know all the beginning balances. Super, super easy. We just start there and drag and go all the way down here and leave this one blank. We're going to use the sum function. Remember that Greek letter E? Okay. So we drag down and select, and then we leave the last one blank. That's where it's going to go. Then we come way up here. Looks like I called the Greek letter E. I don't know technically what it is, but that's auto sum. If you pull down this menu, the first one, sum, which is the one that's probably done most of the time, is the default. So that's why you don't have to pull down the menu if you're doing sum. But then the other functions are start underneath here. And there's a lot. There's like 500 functions. We're only covering like 6 of them in this class. So we'll just click on auto sum. And there it is. Now you might say, what did that do, Mr. Rio? Well, we click there, and there it is right there. You click on there, you look up here in the formula bar, equal sign, sum, and it's got a range B8 to B13. Now, because of that drag, it included this empty one here, but that doesn't hurt anything. We're adding up cells. It doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt the final result. If you want to go up here and edit it and take that one out, make it 12 in my case, that would be fine. Now, again, back to the beauty of Excel, I don't have to do, even though it's very easy to do for each of these, I can just click here, drag this little handle across, and it will fill all the way to the right that sum function. So add up deposits, add up drafts, add up ending balance. Okay, simple enough. Okay, and that's it. That one's done. Now the other ones here, with the exception of if, will be very quick, and then if I'll go a little bit slower. Okay, average function. Okay, again, everyone should know how to type this in and adjust it. And now in this case here, where average temperature is an A1, you don't have to do if you want to do the merge in center, like I just dragged across there, and I'll click here and do it. You could do that, but if you want to leave it on the left, that's okay too. Usually I make these bold, make it look a little nicer. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Okay. Now, these here are average temperatures for cities in Tennessee. Those are all cities in Tennessee. And we have the average high temperature. We want to average a temperature. So we want the different cities, the high temperatures, and this could be for a day or for a week, or I'm not sure. And we got low temperatures. So both of them are going to be averages. So we're going to click right there, and we're going to hit the equal sign. Now, we could type the word average, or I could go up here to what, actually, if I do the other, I should start it from, I don't know why this is grayed out. Okay. Okay, probably because I'd started doing something else. Okay, you could just go up here and go to auto sum and go to average. Okay, and that would start that would start the function for you. Or you can type it manually, it does not matter. So this one is equal sign average, and then mine automatically guessed that I wanted B6 to be 11. Okay, B11 includes this blank one here. I'm going to edit that. Even though the B11 may not hurt it, I don't know if it will or not. I know that's wrong. So I'm going to edit it to B10. So it does B6 to B10. Okay, so it's equal sign average. Now, you probably remember in math class, average involves adding all the numbers up and divide by however many there are. So it would add all these up and divide by 5. But we have an average function to do that for us. So we got B6 to B10, high, top left to bottom right. And that's it. And then I hit return. And the average for the high temperature is 48.4. And if I click back on there and I pull the little handle to the right, it fills it over to the right. So my average low temperature is 38.6. I could click on it and double check it. Yep, there's C6, C10. It looks great. So that's how easy that one is. So that's the average function. Next one, sales. This one I'm going to introduce you to the max function. And we're also going to do a sum. Now we got these people, and if you need to adjust these or anything, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see a little better. Okay, here. Okay. Everyone see okay? Okay. I'm just taking a quick look over to see if everybody's here. Total sales. We have sales here. These are salespeople. Okay. And we have their weekly sales. And this is all, you guys know currency formatting up here and all that, so I'm not going to go over all that right now. Now, first thing we want to do is total. So we want to add all these up. And of course, we know by now that is a really, really easy sum function. So we're going to drag down here, leave it blank where it's going to go next to total sales. Click on that Greek letter E, and it's that simple. Okay. And if you click on here, it's going to sum B6 for me, B6 to B14. That does include the blank one, but that doesn't hurt anything. And that's a very simple sum addition. Now this one here is going to be introduce you something new. It's called the max function. I'm going to do this one manually. I could go up here and select max there and get it started, but I'm going to do it manually. So I click here, I put an equal sign. Now max is literally MAX. You could type it lowercase, uppercase. I did it uppercase. And now it brings up a little thing here that if I click, it'll start the next part for me, but I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to put in my own parentheses. Now, what range do I want? I want B6 to B13. So I'm going to put B6 colon, make sure you don't do semicolon, B6 colon B13. Okay, like that. So equals max B6 B13. Now, what is that going to do? This is where you think through it logically. It's going to go through this range of cells, and whichever number is the biggest, it's going to put that number here. So we hit return, and it puts 7,325, which is right there. That is this person, Mancini. That's their sales for the week. They're the highest one. So that's where that came from. So that's the max function. Okay, it goes through the range, and whichever number is biggest, it displays it. Now we're going to go to mileage, which we're going to introduce you to the min function in addition to using the max function again. Now the mileage here, make it a little bit bigger. We have, now this one for sure you need to drag out wider, okay? So, and yeah, this can be here. I centered these. I think it looks better centered.
Mr. Rio.
Yeah.
I didn't get the last part in max. So you put max, then B6 to what?
Well, if your stuff is in the same location as mine,
it
is B6 to B13, which is right here to right there. Now, if you started a different row than me, which is fine, then just make sure you have whatever cell this is to whatever cell this is. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Now for the mileage here, I had to make this a lot wider here. This I just put in the middle. I'm not picky. If you do a merge and center with a few cells, you want to put it there, I'm not too worried about that on here. Now, what is this sheet about? This spreadsheet, this worksheet about? It's about distances from Miami, Florida to different cities. And these are the number of miles. Now, here's something I did unique here. It's in a tutorial. See where I got them little, like, if it's over 1,000 and it has a comma? That didn't just happen, okay? I went up here and I went to more number formats down at the bottom. And I clicked on the second one called number, and I clicked here, use thousand separator, so that it does the comma if it's over 1,000. And then by default, it had 2 decimal places. I didn't want any decimal places. These are not dollar amounts. So I made that 0. And then we don't have any negative numbers, but it gives you options if you want to. If you did have negative numbers, you can say, how do you want a negative number displayed? And these are 4 different ways to display negative numbers, okay? So that's what I did to get that 1,000 separator, okay? That's in the tutorial too. So first thing we're gonna do is a shortest distance, which is a min function. So I'm gonna do this manually. Whoops, I accidentally. Equal sign, min, and I do a parentheses, and of course that's gonna be from here, C6 to C13. So I'm gonna do C6 colon C13, and then another parentheses, and then I do that. And why did it do? Oh, there it goes finally. I was going to say, what's taking so long? Okay, 625. That's the shortest distance from Miami is to Atlanta, Georgia. So it's displaying the min function. There it is up there, equals min C6 colon C13 in parentheses. It goes through these, and the smallest number, min, minimum, is this one right here. Now here we're going to do another max. You guys know this here. Now here's a little trick I'm going to show you. If you're typing it manually like I just did, equal, max, and then you start there with the parenthesis, you could just look up here and put in the B6 colon B13, or a shortcut, we just drag across them and it does it for you. And then you can put another parentheses on the end, and that's going to go through that range of cells, and it's going to display the biggest one. So let's hit return. And the biggest one is 2,737, which is the distance to my Los Angeles, California. Okay. So we got one more. This is the challenging one, but once you understand it, it's actually quite easy. Okay, this is the if function, which is different from all the other functions. First, we got our information here. And this column I made narrower. I didn't need it so wide. And if any of them like the name, you maybe need a little wider to fit in all the names. Now, what is this doing? Okay, this here is doing insurance premiums. And we have these policy holders. I assume it's car insurance. It doesn't say car insurance, but it looks like car insurance amounts. And we have these policy holders. We have their ages. We have what they currently pay for their insurance. Say that's for the year. And then we want to update their premium. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but people under 25 pay higher car insurance on average than people over 25, all things being equal. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a function that's going to adjust their previous premium either up or down depending on their age. So how do you do that? It's actually quite simple. We're going to click right there to do our function. This is going to be an if function. So we're going to put equal sign, and then we're going to type if. And then we're going to put a parentheses. Now, there's a little thing that comes up here. Maybe you can't see it too good on your screen. But there's 3 parts that go in the parentheses. There's what's called a logical test. Then there's a comma. Then there's a what do you do if it's true? Like what formula do you use if it's true? And there's another comma. And then what formula do you use if it's not true? So when the test is either going to be true or not true. Sometimes it'll say yes or no. So whether you say true or yes or not true or false or no, it means the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to first look at this cell here of their age, which for me is B8. Now the test we're going to do is B8 smaller than 25. Okay, so is this person under 25? Then we put a comma. That's the test. Okay, now we're going to have 2 different formulas. The first formula is going to be if it's true, if they're under 25, and the second formula is going to be if it's not true, if it's not under 25. But the formula is not going to be based on their age. We're adjusting their premium. So the formula is going to be based on this. So I clicked on it, so put C8. Now, if they're under 25, they're going to get an increase of 30, okay? So in other words, their premium is going to go up $30 if they're under 25. So it takes C8, their previous premium, it's going to add 30, and that's going to end up being their premium if they're under 25. Then we put another comma. Now we're going to do C8 again. Now this is for if they're not under 25, and they're going to get a discount of 18. Okay? So I put a parenthesis at the end. So we got the test, are they under 25, comma. If it's true, or yes, however you want to look at it, we take their previous premium and we add 30. So people under 25 get an increase. Then we got another comma. If it's not true, and that includes a person 25, because they're not under 25, they're 25 or older. So if it's not true, then we take their previous premium and we deduct $18, so they get a discount. Okay? So when you think through it step by step, it's actually quite simple. Now I'm going to hit return. And for this person, they're under 25. Their previous premium was $832.15, and now they got a $30 increase, so they're up to $862.15. Now, just like with everything else we do, we can pull this down and do a fill, and it'll do that if function all the way down. So some of these people, they're like this person here is over 25, so theirs went down. They're over 25, theirs went down. They're under 25, theirs went up a little bit. They're 25 exactly, but they're not, the test was under 25. So if you're not under 25, you get the discount. So theirs went down. And then same with this one. So actually the if function's not that hard. I'm going to click on this here and make it, oh, it is already bold. Okay. I'll give it a color. Okay. So that is basically what I just did there was a lot of what's on the tutorial, except the tutorial. Yeah, that's pretty much the tutorial in it, kind of a shortened form. So if you got any questions, and like I said, I use the online version of Excel here, which you can use if you want to. Now, if you do the online version of Excel, you will have to download it to like your desktop or something to submit it. Some people figure out ways to try to submit it from their OneDrive. With links and stuff, those work seems like about most of the time, but occasionally there's a problem with the link. So I prefer if you can download it and submit it that way. It tends to work better with Google Classroom. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. Today was like a real lesson. Now tomorrow I'll be here, but it's just going to be like office hours. So if you don't have a question or whatever, you don't feel the need to come here. But if you do have a question or a problem or whatever, feel free to. And if you just want to pop in, say hi, I'll be here. Now, after about 15 minutes, if nobody's here or everybody's done that it was here, I'll probably shut down, but I'll stay at least 15 minutes at 9:30. Okay. Okay, thanks for coming here today. I'm going to check the chat here, see if there's any lingering questions or anything like that. Okay. If you didn't already put a hi or hello in the chat, it'd be nice if you did, or you say goodbye at this point. Or you can unmute yourself too. I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to change my view so I can see you guys a little better. Okay, Colin and Caden and Cameron and Zach and Saki and Trey and Quinn and Kirsten and Brendan and Jackson and Brock and Brody, you guys have a great Thursday. Okay.
Bye.
Yep, take care. Saki, could you hear me okay? Or whoever's there? Spencer, you guys can hear me okay? You can put your thumb up.
See you later.
Yep, okay, yep, take care. Yep. And if ever, I'm in the building today. If anyone comes in, needs help, feel free to pop on down. I'll be here again Monday next week, Wednesday next week, and Thursday next week. Typically Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm usually here. Okay, I'm going to head on out.